Hello, folks. This is Steve AB4L. Nothing in this episode is a promotion or a recommendation, although I'll admit I'm going to pat myself on the back. I go to slashdot.org, news for nerds. Sometimes it's interesting stuff. Reddit communities with millions of followers plan to extend the blackout indefinitely. Actually, that's bad. Yesterday, I was researching a computer problem, programming problem, and the answer was on Reddit, a Reddit update from 2 days ago. Yeah. New York City establishes first minimum wage for food delivery workers. Researchers warn of model collapse as AI trains on AI-generated content. That caught my eye. AI, as those following the burgeoning industry and its underlying research know, the data used to train large language models, LLMs, and other transformer models underpinning the products such as ChatGPT, Stable Diffusion, comes initially from human sources. They could train even on manuscripts that you dig up out in the desert from people who lived and wrote in Mesopotamia 3,000 years ago. But books, articles, photos, and so on that were created without the help of artificial intelligence. Now, I already knew where this was going. Now, as more people use AI to produce and publish content, I noticed that Nature magazine thing, they're not going to allow illustrations created by AI. They're going to have to be created by humans. Wonder what they know. What happens as AI-generated content proliferates? Remember the one I did about the brilliant lawyer who wrote a brief for the court and using ChatGPT and was all BS, and the opposition team researched it using AI and caught him, and they're still begging not to be sanctioned? Didn't take long, did it? Back in, what was it, December, I posted that video about NC State computer science graduate students in computer science department thinking that the AI assisted programming it could do is going to undermine student learning. Undermine student learning? They're dumb enough as it is. What happens as AI-generated content proliferates around the internet? When I was a kid, you need to learn about the outside world. Occasionally, you'd meet somebody who wasn't from your town, or the movies, or maybe the library. Is that the way it works now? And AI models began to train on it, meaning AI-generated stuff. Can AI tell what is AI-generated? Is there a rule that says don't use AI-generated? Do people understand what they're doing? You know, when they invented gunpowder and people started passing the formula around and creating charcoal and digging up potash and stuff, how many of them blew their hands off? Oh, this is fun. A group of researchers from the UK and Canada have looked at this and published a paper. We'll get to that in a moment. Over time, mistakes in generated data compound, like compound interest. Albert Einstein said that he thought the most amazing thing he knew about wasn't the theory of relativity, it was compound interest. What's compound interest? You put $100 in the bank, they pay 5% interest. In a year from now, you have $105. And that's the basis for earning the next year's interest on not $100, but on 105. Compound interest. If you can let it go long enough, you don't have to lift a finger to become rich. Think about it. Same thing. If AI trains off of other AI, is that going to work? Is that going to work in a positive way, like compound interest, or is it going to be a negative kind of thing? Ultimately force models that learn from generated data to misperceive reality even further. So the models have their drawbacks. They don't have a way of telling, oh, wait a minute, maybe this thing I'm learning here, this doesn't seem to fit. And a human would know, oh yeah, if you step in that hole, you'll break your leg. This will make it harder to train new models by scraping the web, giving an advantage to firms who've already done that. They have a clean data set uncontaminated by all the shit that's going to be added by amateurs jumping on. Because after all, Microsoft and all those people are saying, come out and use it. Publish it on the internet. Make us look good. Think about what's happening here. What science fiction stories and movies do you know about? We preserved an early copy of this, and it's been locked down for 10,000 years. Now we're lost in what's the real religion. We need to go back to the original one that nobody's been allowed to see or contaminated for 10,000 years and start again. Refresh, resurrect our reality. I'm just saying it different ways. This will make it even harder to train newer models by scraping the web, because it's contaminated, giving an advantage to firms that have already done that or which control access to human interfaces at scale. Indeed, we already see AI startups hammering the Internet Archive for training data. You know what the Internet Archive is, right? If you don't, Google search it, go and look at it. A lot of the stuff in there looks familiar to me because that's the way it looked when I started at the beginning of ARPANET, before there was even an internet, and the first internet days when there was no web. And if you wanted to get things to your computer, you used something called Gopher to download it. So they said it's in a recently published paper. Oh, so let's look at it. Who are these people? Now, the curse of recursion. You know what recursion is. Computer programming. Recursion means defining a problem in terms of itself. Can you see it in those pictures? This can be a very powerful tool in writing algorithms, computer programming. Recursion comes directly from mathematics, where there are many examples of expressions written in terms of themselves such as the Fibonacci sequence. What's recursion in simple terms? Solving a problem using the solution of a smaller subset of the original problem. Now let's think about that as AI. The curse of recursion. Learning from the stuff the garbage, the shit you created, instead of gathering the original stuff out there. Especially when you can't tell what is your garbage and what is someone else's garbage and what is the real thing. Stable diffusion revolutionized image creation, demonstrating astounding performance, And you can even get their paper. See, that's an abstract. You want to read through it? I see all these Greek letter terms, all these mathematical formulas. It's a good thing somebody can summarize what this means in an abstract in the English language. So I'm looking at this. Take a look at the authors' names. Now we're coming to the heart of what I'm after. These people are at the University of Oxford, University of Cambridge, Imperial College London, University of Oxford, University of Toronto, and Vector Institute. Think Vector Institute's got anything to do with mathematics? And the University of Cambridge and the University of Edinburgh. So basically they're Brits, or their institutions are Brits. But let's take a look at their names. Ilya Shumailov. Yeah, he sounds Scottish. Zakhar Shumailov. Yeah, he sounds like he's a Cockney. Yirin Zhao. I'll bet he's from Wales originally. Nicholas Papineau. Notice I didn't pronounce the T. I'm going to assume that it could be French. Ross Anderson. Oh, there's the Brit. Now, that's what happens at very, very important and leading universities around the world, except maybe in China. But there was one that caught my eye. And you're going to smile because this is going back to what I'm always interested in. Yaron Gal. Most of those other guys in the front, the first two, they sound Russian to me. Ukrainian or Russian. And the third one sounds for sure something like China. But what about Yaron Gal? It sounds like a mixture. What kind of name is that? Now, if you've been watching my videos, especially about hacking and the way I go identify people, this should be easy. Now, I haven't been to a movie, other than a couple of Bourne movies. I haven't been to the movies in 20 years. 20 years. Just like when I threw out the TV set. It's a waste of time. Because it's just a reiteration of what I saw when I was a kid. They just use different actors. Yaron Gal. This should be easy. You should already be yelling where he was born. It's so easy. Because if you go to the movies, and I'm sure you have, you should be able to make the connection immediately. I was wondering about the Yaron. I'm almost sure that it's Russian. Yaron in Turkish means tomorrow. Yaron was a sentient species that appeared to resemble that of trees. Their limbs were Ottoman, Yaren is Ottoman Turkish. Do you think he's Ottoman Turkish? Alexander Yaren. Could that be like an astronaut? Or am I thinking of Yuri Gagarin? Alexander Yaren, but as a family name. Soviet. Oh, we can't get away from it. Soviet Israeli American applied physicist. This is the first time I'm looking. Just for Yaren. Applied physicist engineer from. Well, how could he be Soviet? He was born in Kazakhstan. That used to be a part of the Soviet Union, or Kazakh Republic. But he went to school in Leningrad and Moscow. Now, wait a minute. He was born in 1953. Now, I was in Israel when the great wave of Russians, Soviet Jews, from Russia, Lithuania, Georgia, all of those. We were in the Opan together, learning Hebrew. Born in 1953 in Kazakhstan, Leningrad graduation, Physio-Mathematical School, N13 in Leningrad, 1970. PhD in Moscow, and then he became a professor at the Technion Israel Institute of Technology from 1990 to. What does that suggest about him, this guy from Kazakhstan? But I guess it wasn't enough. So he held a concurrent, it sounds like he's dead. He held a concurrent in visiting positions at the Moscow Technical Institute, Moscow Aviation Technology, Institute of Physics, Slovak Institute of Canada, Bratislava, Czechoslovakia. This guy must have been a genius. Think about it. Think about it. Oh, and the University of Wisconsin-Madison and the Polish Academy in Warsaw and the Technical Institute in Germany and the Korean Institute. Does it say when he died or is he still living? I can't figure it out. This article is about a United States engineer, inventor, and industrial designer as a stub. You can help Wikipedia by expanding it, telling us more about him. Soviet Israeli, I'm giving you a hint here. Soviet Israeli American. But you see, what I did is I harped on the Russian part of the name. What's the other part of that guy's name in the article? Gal. Now this one should be so easy for you. It should be so easy. As soon as I saw that with the Yaren and the Gal, I said, maybe this guy's family came to Israel when I was there learning Hebrew in the Opan with all those Russian Jews. You know, I once said that you Russians to the gal from Lithuania. She almost hit me. I'm not Russian. I'm Litto. I'm Lithuanian. Lita. You have to be careful how you say things to people. I'll give you another hint. Superwoman. Remember, I haven't been to the movies. I've only seen YouTube shorts. Is that enough of a hint to know where that guy's originally from? Yaren Gal? Is it enough? Superwoman actress. What's her name? Gal Gadot. Or is it Gal Gadot? Born in Petah Tikva. Where's that? Israel. So she served in the Israel Defense Forces, 2004 to 2008. She achieved the rank of sergeant. Gal. Gal Gadot. Oh, they do pronounce the T. Good. What does Gal mean in Hebrew? What does it mean? What's Gal Galim? Wave. I got to get the right one. There's the Hebrew. And they want to give it to me in German. I don't understand that. I said it means wave. Gal is pulley. Does that make sense? So gal can mean orbit also. So do you think the guy is Israeli? Getting back to the... We know she is, right? This guy is. Kazakhstan. Shall we find out where he's from? Do you think he was born in Oxford? Edinburgh? Yaron Gal, homepage, Oxford Machine Learning. I'm an associate professor of machine learning. And then Google Scholar, so he's published a lot of papers. Oh, let's try LinkedIn. Wait a minute. The Alan Turing Institute. Did they mention that? You know who Alan Turing was, right? And he's got a Twitter thing here. Let's look at the Twitter thing first. I haven't looked at it. He looks pretty young. How old do you think he is? Do you like the art he chose? Can you recognize who the painter might have been or what the style was? Oh, he's retweeted something because he's even talking about the VentureBeat article, which contacted these people directly to ask them about this preprint that was published. Do you like the picture that was, maybe that was on the original VentureBeat article? Do you understand how that would fit in what their paper's saying? And yes, it's model collapse, dementia as the result of, oh, I enjoyed this BBC crowd science discussion. Yeah, they're talking about it, AI taking us into dementia. And they're not kidding. What happens if artificial intelligence starts learning from its own material? I still say he's Israeli. Let's go to LinkedIn. Associate professor in machine learning at the University of Oxford. He's got a personal website. Should I trust it? Well, he's talking about himself, but only in the present. Oh, there it is. There it is. I'm going to pat myself on the back. There it is. It'll be easy for you to see. I'm sure it's down here. Associate professor, what does that mean? If they follow the U.S. system, assistant professor is your entry job. After you get a little bit of tenure, you become an associate professor after you've published enough and your peers think that you should stay in the department. And then you become a full professor at some point, maybe. Especially if somebody wants to endow you. Put a bank deposit somewhere that earns interest that's enough to underwrite your salary and some of your research. PhD candidate ending in 2016, software engineer, IDSIA Limited. I wonder what that means. Oh, he went to the Open University of Israel, Bachelor of Science, Mathematics and Computers, 2005 to 2009. Do you think he left England to go to Israel, to the Open University of Israel? I think this is the first time I've come to this webpage. I've heard of it. So where is it? It looks like it's very avant-garde. Ra'anana. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, that's interesting. Really? I bet it's on the outskirts. One University Road. Hang on. Let's do a map. I want to see where it is. Okay, there's Ra'anana, Kfar Saba. Oh, there's Tel Aviv. Oh, I was thinking of a different place. You notice that there's still farmland in between Netanya and Tel Aviv. There's still a little bit left. Now, where did they say it was? They crossed it out. Hang on. And they shortened this. What are they doing? What's the matter with them? Where'd they say it was? They screwed me up. See, when I was in Israel, I was a little further north, up around here and further north. Stayed away. I only went to Tel Aviv to have fun. So he's Israeli. Now, how did I figure it out? How did I figure it out? The browser is misbehaving today. Oh, there was that one other thing. See, this is how my mind wanders, but we're figuring it out. How come there's always an Israeli in these things? Now, this is the first time I'm seeing this. What are we looking for? Capital I, capital D, small ESIA Limited. Adessia Biometrics provides biometric authentication solutions for securing the digital world. IDSC's cutting-edge technology is changing the world of authentication. See, oh, I'm in incognito. Excuse me. Let me go back. Excuse me for getting confused about this. Excuse me. Let me go back to the regular. Incognito has its problems. Let's just. It's the second one I'm interested in. Idessia Limited, and then it says Israel Defense. And the website is israeldefense.co.il. Idessia was established in 2004. When did the web begin? Not when did the internet begin, when did the web begin? He invented it in 1989. Excuse me for being disorganized. What do we see over here? IDSCA was established in 2004 with the aim to develop and market biodynamic signature, the company's state-of-art technology which enables a wide range of biometric-based, your fingerprints, your eyes, your face, user identity-aware applications. Idescia's current application offerings are focused on biometric authentication, personal health, fitness, and well-being. Solutions present a greater value. And it's in the Caesarea, and they are in the Caesarea Industrial Park in Caesarea. What's important about Caesarea? I've been there. See, I let my mind wander. I've been there. Not to the industrial park. I don't know if it existed at the time. What was Caesarea? I've been to Caesarea. It was a Crusader fortress. Caesarea. The Crusaders. Kosher. Can we get a picture? You notice that it's blurry? Do you notice it's blurry? Why is it blurry? Why is it so blurry? I've told you that before. So that's the kind of stuff that he was involved in. But the thing is, Israel Defenses. So I thought that was IDF. They won't let me in and see their. Oh, there it is. All I had to do was back arrow them. They claim they're in semiconductor manufacturing. Does that make sense? View all four. Does this make any sense? See, I have to log in for that. Does that make any sense? Semiconductor manufacturing? You'll pardon me for straying, but sometimes this is the way things go. All these other ones, excuse me for doing this. Yep, they claim it is in Caesarea. It's a private company. Oh, it's already been dissolved. It's past history. And I can guess why. They were ahead of their time. And so he had to move on and find other adventures. That's what I think happened. Associate Professor of Machine Learning. Here's his blog, Uncertainty in Deep Learning, PhD thesis. PhD thesis, Uncertainty in Machine Learning. So I finally submitted my PhD thesis, collecting already published results. See, the modern thing is this. When you're doing a dissertation, the old time was you used to have these chapters that you would do. You write them yourself. But there's another style that's acceptable. Let's say that while you're doing your PhD research, you publish 5 papers and 3 of them are in really, really recognized journals. You can just put your dissertation together by writing an introduction, writing a final chapter, and then the 5 chapters in between are just reprints of your refereed published papers. And that's it. It's all over. Not a lot to have to defend. (2016). How long ago was that? 7 years ago. So I finally submitted my PhD thesis, given below. In it, I organized. Let's see if we can download it. Some of the work in the thesis was previously presented in, so it's a publication and a publication, but the thesis contains many new pieces as well. The most notable are a discussion of AI safety and model uncertainty. Do you think he was ahead of the curve for what's going on now? Number 2, a theoretical analysis of the variance of reparameterization trick and other Monte Carlo estimators. Sounds like he's a statistician. Some empirical results, an empirical analysis of different Bayesian neural network. The Bayesian group are non-traditional statistical approaches for distributions and parameters. Some applications, a survey of recent applications in language, biology, medicine, and computer vision, making use of tools presented in this thesis. Wait a minute, is it his thesis? Oh, this is his thesis. Oh, there's his dissertation online. Look, I'm just having fun. And more theoretical results. So I'm guessing this is another chapter of his thesis. Yes, it is. And it's called Deep Insights. Let's see what the takeaway for Deep Insight from Yarin Gal. While Betcher's parents came from the old Soviet Union, until now we've mostly studied the proposed approximate inference techniques empirically. In this chapter, we turn to a more theoretical analysis and concentrate his English is pretty good, concentrate mostly on the case of dropout, as it seems to be the most widely used among the various stochastic regularization techniques. Is he using words you've never heard before? We begin by suggesting practical considerations for getting good uncertainty estimates, followed by a review of what affects predicted, not effects, but affects with an A. It's not the same thing. Predictive uncertainty characteristics. We then offer an analytical analysis in the linear case, answering many higher level questions about the behavior of the inference, and analyze dropout. Oh, dropout is the big word now in that paper. Dropout, evidence lower boundary, correlation with test log likelihood. You understood all that, didn't you? We continue by discussing various alternative priors to the standard Gaussian prior. We discuss the properties of a discrete prior and an approximate derivative of the optimal variational posterior with a spike and a slab prior. You notice I was actually able to only stumble on a few words as I read that. I wonder if his committee understood him. Practical considerations, first time I'm seeing this, folks. Practical considerations for getting good uncertainty estimates. I think he's showing that he has a sense of humor and that he's human and that he knows how to drive a car. I will suggest some tricks of the trade. Whose trade? To get good predictive uncertainty estimates. First, it seems that over-parameterized models result in better uncertainty estimates than smaller models. So the more complicated, actually that's true. The whole point about these large language models and why the GPU companies are going to have suddenly become trillion-dollar companies is because they have to have so many GPU and CPUs running every possible angle that there are literally, effectively, virtually a trillion of them all interconnected. And that's what he just said. That the future, remember how long ago, this is 7 years ago, the future is that when we can build computer systems that can cross-web enough, then we'll have something that's worth playing with. That's my interpretation of his first sentence. So I was just having fun with this. Research warned of model collapse as AI trains on AI-generated. If you haven't quite caught it, why is it bad genetically to have children between brother and sister? The risk of passing down a genetic disease is much higher for siblings than for first cousins. To be more specific, two siblings who have kids together have a higher chance of passing a recessive disease to the. What does it mean for humans to be inbred? Oh, we need some pictures. Why are they showing a king? What scientists found after analyzing cases of inbreeding in the UK? Human inbreeding by the numbers. Geneticists can tell if your parents are closely related and how it will affect your. Charles II, the last of the Spanish Habsburg, generations of inbreeding left him infertile in addition to numerous additional health problems. He was the end of the line. He couldn't. His sperm were so dead because of all the accumulated recessive lethals that he couldn't produce any further inbred children. And that's what they're talking about. This article here, that's what they're talking about for AI. That's where it's going to go. Steve A. Beforio, just letting his mind wander and brainstorming at the same time and having fun. Saying see you in 73.